Who is doing the welcome?
Me. Oh, we didn't do interfaith, the indigenous, but I will do that. I will do that. Okay, are you streaming?
Just 1 second. It's just YouTube. Okay.
Okay, friends, welcome to the Interfaith Prayer and Discussion number 218. As before, I'd like to read this quotation from Universal House of Justice: whether through deeds or words, the merit of your every contribution to social well-being lies first in your resolute commitment to discover that precious point of unity where contrasting perspectives overlap, around which contending peoples can coalesce. So we are here together to find that point of unity, when we have these meetings. So please, I'm sure everyone is muted, but if you're not, mute if you're not reading, and when your reading is up, please unmute and read. So this is the Interfaith Forum Protocol. As I discussed, we are trying to aim for unity and find the points of unity in our faiths. So I guess I read that just now. So that's the basic thing that Siva wanted to happen with these meetings. Well, I will introduce our speaker. I'm sure everyone know her, but I will introduce the speaker later on after the devotional meetings. So this is the program for tonight. I appreciated the readings. So we have two audiovisual presentation. Then I'll have the welcome, honoring the indigenous people and land. And then we have 7 readings for tonight. Then I will introduce the other speaker and we go from there. And then at the end, we have question and answer and discussion at the end. So please mute if you not reading, or when your reading comes, turn your microphone on. So acknowledging and honoring indigenous land and people. There is widespread acknowledgement that the present-day structures of society are ill-prepared to address the needs of humanity in its current travels. Much that was widely assumed to be certain and unshakable is being questioned, and the resulting ferment is producing a longing for a unifying vision. The chorus of voices raised in support of oneness, equality, and justice shows how many share these aspirations for the societies. This is from Resolution Message of 2023 from Universal House of Justice. We acknowledge and pay respect to the past, present, and future traditional custodians and elders of this nation, which we call Australia, and the contributions of cultural, spiritual, and educational practices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. We acknowledge Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders tribes were the first sovereign nations of the Australian continent. The Gadigal of the Eora Nation are the traditional custodians of this place we now call Sydney, and Wangal people were traditional owners of Bearwood, where Wasanta lives. So I'll start with those music, praise in music, and then we go from there.
By faith is fire kindled. By faith is prophet sacrifice. Sing without faith, the pinnacle of joy. First faith, the one who gives. Praise him who wills, but as not. Praise him who gives his worship instinctive. Praise this song I sing into writing. Siva.
With greetings to Almighty, the symbol of faith, humanity, and inner wishes, I deliver to thee, O Mazda, these precious gems, i.e. the souls of the pure-minded and righteous persons, for thy safekeeping, since thou art the great King and the eternal strength. Zoroastrian writing, Catist.
The man of faith is revered wherever he goes. He has virtue and fame. He prospers. Good men shine even from a distance, like the Himalaya mountains. But the wicked, like arrows shot in the night, fade away. Sit alone, sleep alone, be active alone. In loneliness, continue the quest of the self. Even in a forest, continue the quest. Buddhist writings.
In thee, O Lord, have I taken refuge. Let me never be ashamed. Deliver me in thy righteousness. Incline thine ear unto me. Deliver me speedily. Be thou to me a rock of refuge, even a fortress of defence to save me. For thou art my rock and my fortress. Therefore, for thy name's sake, lead me and guide me. Bring me forth out of the net that they have hidden for me. For thou art my stronghold. Into thy hand I commit my spirit. Thou hast redeemed me, O Lord, thou God of truth. Jewish writings, Psalms 31, 2-6.
Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet, I say unto you, that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothe the grass, which is today in the field, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And see not ye what ye shall eat, or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind. For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth not that you have need of these things, but rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Sorry, someone read it doesn't go up. Islamic right? No.
Christian writings. Yeah.
Okay,
Christian writings.
sorry.
How can ye withhold faith from God? Ye were dead, and he gave you life. Next, he will cause you to die. Next, he will restore you to life. Next, shall ye return to him. He it is who created for you all that is on earth. Then proceed to the heaven. and into 7 heavens did he fashion it. And he knoweth all things. Islamic writings.
Moreover, a soul of excellent deeds and good manners will undoubtedly advance from whatever horizon he beholdeth the light radiating. Herein lies the difference. By faith is meant, first, conscious knowledge, and second, the practice of good deeds. Baha'i writing, Abdu'l-Baha.
Rely upon God, trust in Him, praise Him and call Him continually to mind. He verily turneth trouble into ease, sorrow into solace, and toil into utter peace. He verily turneth trouble into ease, sorrow into solace, and toil into utter peace. He verily hath dominion over all things. He verily hath dominion over all things.
Okay, thank you, friends, for reading those devotional prayers. I enjoyed it very much. I hope you enjoyed as well. So let me just go back to that slide, the presenter speaker. Okay, I'm sure everyone knows our speaker because she continuously is in these meetings, and you know, we enjoy talking with her. But let me just briefly describe those writings at the bottom of this slide. Tracy has got a Bachelor of Health and Health Science, has been a seeker of truth, peace, and healing practices for decades to learn how to be a better contributor to God's kingdom on earth. She's a wife, mother, nana, author, activist, and retired naturopath and manager. And from what I gather, Siva and Tracy started this interfaith gathering. So Tracy, I unshare, and you can share your staff or presentational videos that you were going to show. So platform is yours.
Thank you, everyone, for the readings, and there was many wonderful points in our readings tonight. And even just sort of being together and sharing those scriptural readings, from the different faiths, and listening to music from different faiths, creative activities, I think we're contributing to God's happiness. Because in that song, that God's song is for us to realize that we have beauty and wonder in our lands, but other people also. And the same thing applies to our faiths. So my talk tonight is Interfaith and the Purpose of Religion, and it's just thoughts for discussion. There is always more to know about everything. It's a very important point. We should all be always hungry to learn more, hungry to learn how other people are approaching God or any subject, so that I might be able to pick up something that can help. And to have that attitude of learning from each other. The field and study of interfaith is relatively new, and it is changing and evolving alongside our society. In a sense, interfaith work is what holds the fabric of a multi-religious, multicultural society together. It is our willingness to cooperate, communicate, and work with people different from ourselves, and to embrace rather than hide our differences. So it's good when we find things in common, but also we shouldn't be afraid to be different from each other. When we look at our hand, our fingers and thumb are there together on one hand, but they're quite different from each other. And when you're trying to do something, the fact that they approach that thing from different angles enables you to do more. So we should think, appreciate those things. Interfaith activities vary widely. Some groups primarily seek fellowship and understanding, and others are orientated towards social change. They come together because they want to improve society. Religion is looking to connect, to the divine, the sacred, to bridge that gap. It's given labels like the dreaming, the Brahman, the Great Spirit, Allah, God, Yahweh, the quantum vacuum, source, the void, the supreme, the one, the formless, nameless essence, and I am. I will use the word God. Some religions are focused on God's activities in human life, receiving revelations and trying to convey that message to others. Some are more on human activities to prepare themselves, and others are combining those two together. As that quote from Baha'u'llah said, if you practice good deeds and you're well-mannered, no matter where you are looking towards the light, you have to improve. But that light is coming from God. And that's what we're looking towards. Religions seek to cultivate a people, individuals, families, communities, nations that God can live with, in and through, so that we can be reflecting and radiating God fully, transforming the world from the inside out, from the divine, to make everything, all relationships and activities, sacred. We're chosen to serve all humanity. And Jesus emphasized this a lot. If you want to lead, you have to be willing to serve the most. So it's not to become the elite and the exclusive. Oh, God only loves me or our group. But we are given more to have more capability, more to give to all humanity, more ways to serve. And different faith teachings complement each other to help us develop as humanity. It gives us recipes for a good life. Nations that allow plurality of beliefs will develop more and find the best ways to care for all their people than nations that just say, we are just this one faith, and persecute other faiths within it. Daily life, the coming and going, the eating and sleeping, good and bad things together with God. That's what we're seeking with a faithful religious life. Just because you have faith doesn't mean life's going to necessarily be easy or only good. But we're not alone. That's the difference. When you have faith, you know you're living with the divine, with God. God is holding your hand and is in you and around you and through you and to you. And that's a big difference. And also, there's not anything that's bad. We need to eat and sleep and come and go. But it's doing those things with God. Religions provide a framework of morality, ethics, and virtues for people to follow to reflect the nature of God more. And in the beginning, in Genesis, it talks about we are made in God's image. So male and female, they were created. So we're meant to really reflect the nature of God more. You know, it's talked about that the sun shines on everyone. So if we want to reflect God, we need to be gracious towards all people. Overcoming greed and anger and ignorance to refine ourselves. There's so many dreaming stories in Aboriginal cultures about managing greed, anger, and ignorance, because it's a universal challenge. But in all the faiths, there are stories and ways and methods to overcome these tendencies. We are sick, and religion is our medicine. But it's not only different medicines through time, like 2,000 years ago, you had one type of medicine and that's only for then, or there's different types of medicines available to us, different faiths. But it's also what someone is willing and able to take in. There's an old story of a doctor's surgery where they cut down a bush, the bushes at the side of the doctor's surgery, and in it they found all these prescriptions for medicines that people had put into the bushes as they left the doctor's surgery. So we can have the medicines available, but what are we willing to take it? If our sickness is we're too greedy, are we willing to take the medicine to help us to overcome that greediness? This is the thing of wanting to learn all the time, being teachable, is being able to take the medicine. Religions are like a seed, which we heard last week from our Jewish speaker, that it's an organizing principle to expand knowledge and relationships and to enable the common good to come together, to find the ways that we do complement each other, But religion is like that. It helps us to organize our personal lives and our family life and our society life. And it's what fruits those seeds bring within us, which is really important. What fruit am I bearing forth? By me being a religious person, am I more like God or am I more of a bigot? This is our challenge, to bring forth the fruit of reflecting God and bring that to make God happy and humanity and all life actually happy and benefit. So in our bodies, we've all come from our parents, who we become one cell, and then it has all the same DNA. And every cell in our body has the same DNA, but there are many, the cells become specialized depending on where in that initial stages, where they are in that first 16, if they're in the middle or on the left or right and below or above. The electrical signals they get from the other cells will activate the different parts in the DNA for them to specialize. So we, all humanity, all life has come from one beginning point. Scientists call it the Big Bang, that before the Big Bang, there was nothing except an idea, an intention, a purpose. So all humanity, we're all part of a God trying to get us to be, specialized in looking after the earth in a different way, looking after or contributing something unique into humanity's story. But we have a common origin. And so that we should be mindful of that, to actually develop empathy and understanding and respect towards other people, even when they are different than us. God, our common origin, has a design for all of life and has answers to the fundamental questions about life and its purpose or meaning. What is reality? Just what we see or hear, or more? What happens after we die? Also, God provides solutions for human problems and uses various ways to convey them. For example, chosen people, inspirational words, guidance to initiate service, music, art, drama, ceremonies, children. Out of the mouth of babes comes wisdom, and daily life. Eventually, all of us realize that life is bigger than any of us. The purpose of religion is to help us turn towards God, our origin, and build a mature relationship. Religions have been initiated by God and humans to help bridge the gap between humanity and the divine. In a mature relationship, you enjoy being in each other's company and can listen and talk openly and honestly. So we want to develop a mature relationship with God, with the sacred, that we can just be together. Mature people can build families and societies to provide mutual support for prosperity, while looking after the young and vulnerable while they grow. Now, thank you to Colin for sending me an article about an interfaith forum. One way of looking at religion is as a phenomenon that transcends any one faith or sect, explains Venus Kalasi, who represented the Baha'i community at the G20 Interfaith Forum in Argentina. One of the aims of participation in interfaith dialogue, she explains, is to draw out universal principles and learn from each other's experiences, applying them. The point is to work toward a more peaceful and just world. In this sense, religion can be seen as a system of knowledge and practice that is evolving and offers insights and values that can help society advance. Acknowledged or unacknowledged, around the world, religion addresses the challenging problems society and nations face, as well as broader societal well-being. Without the investment of time and resources that religiously motivated organizations and individuals provide, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are unattainable. Mrs. Britt Strandli Thoresen, a Baha'i who heads Norway's national interfaith organization, sees great value in continuing to invest time in interfaith activities. We are learning step by step. We are learning to listen, reflect, and communicate with one another in a way that builds common understanding. In this setting, it is important not to dwell on differences, but to try and build on what we all have in common. And that is a lot, actually. We are striving to find a common path together, a path to building a better world with each other. And Dr. Filson says, we have to keep moving forward together, widening the circle to include all people. Only through transcending divides and working side by side for our common destiny can we begin to address the real problems of the world in a way that actually uplifts and brings people together in an understanding beyond rhetoric. Interfaith dialogue allows for the development of mutual respect and lays the foundations for peaceful coexistence. By engaging in thoughtful conversation, we can dismantle prejudices, bridge cultural divides, and foster a deeper understanding among various religious communities. When individuals from varying religious backgrounds come together with open minds and hearts, the potential for collective understanding and cooperation is immense. Such dialogues can highlight common values such as compassion and a desire for peace, which transcend individual doctrines. Moreover, engaging in these conversations can enrich one's personal faith, offering new perspectives and insights that one might not encounter within the confines of a single religious community. Through such interactions, the scope of dialogue extends beyond mere tolerance to include support and cooperation among communities. One of the largest hurdles in interfaith dialogue is overcoming entrenched stereotypes and prejudices. I believe that through open, honest conversation, we can dismantle misconceptions and reveal the shared values that unite us. This constructive approach allows us to look beyond our differences and work together in shaping a more inclusive and respectful world. In this modern tapestry of global societies, I recognize the growing importance for us to understand the various religious traditions that weave it together. How many of us have viewed another faith through the eyes of media or prejudice before we've managed to have a direct contact and find out, oh, that's not true. That's just what some propagandist wanted me to think. And continuing on from this, Adam Phillips. Listening and sharing. When I engage in conversations with people of other faiths, active listening is crucial. Sharing experiences and personal stories, rather than just facts about my beliefs, fosters deeper relationships. Participating in cultural exchanges, visiting places of worship and celebrating festivals together are just some of the ways I'm immerse myself in the beauty of various cultures. This helps me build authentic and lasting relationships. For me, interfaith engagement is not just about learning other traditions. It's a means to enhance my spiritual path. It's a reflective process where I confront my beliefs, question them, and often reaffirm them, growing spiritually in the process. By exposing myself to diverse religious experiences, I gain perspectives that are invaluable for my personal development. Dialogue with others is a mirror in which I see my own spiritual depth reflected and expanded. My research revealed a 3-step process emphasizing dialogue, understanding, and friendship, aimed at building personal relationship and societal harmony. Moreover, the discussions have illustrated that participation in interfaith dialogue need not have a grandiose end goal. It is sometimes in the simple act of dialogue that mutual enlightenment and emotional connections develop. So that's what we're trying to practice each week too. And Religions for Peace Australia, their perspective is the interfaith dialogue should be relevant to the context of religious plurality that characterizes today's world. It should address the problems, conflicts, and tensions that threaten the harmonious and peaceful coexistence in an effort to prevent the exploitation of religious sentiments in exasperating division. In this wise, there are many practical activities which may be taken up as a fruit of interfaith dialogue. And it's when politicians seeking power try to use religion for their purpose, not for the purpose of God or for the benefit of humanity, that we are trying to take away that space by meeting each other, that politicians can't divide and conquer and rule us. So I've got 2 videos. One is of 3 women and the other one is of 3 men. They're called the first one's 3 women. So I'll just share.
True dialogue can only take place among equals. I am not suggesting that true dialogues happen among like-minded
Tracy, we can't see it. Can you unshare your slide and share that?
Yep.
with diverse backgrounds and views. Each
Thank you.
bringing something different to a conversation. So what do I mean by equals? Central to Buddhist belief is the intrinsic equality of all sentient beings. Whatever our belief system, we are equal in our ability to experience suffering. There are many personal, social, environmental, economic, and political problems that threaten our survival today. These issues are too large for any one religion to resolve. Since most, if not all, religions share one common mission, the relief of suffering, and one common language of compassion, these groups are the most logical place to start dialogues, so as to bring about more holistic resolutions. For these dialogues to be genuine, they need to be respectful and open, with an agreement that the dialogues are conducted among equals. All participants must be able to express themselves freely and respectfully, without fear of recrimination. It is also the responsibility of individuals to ensure that they have researched their facts and proposed ideas out of compassion for all. as brothers and sisters in suffering. We must conduct true dialogues as equals. Then can ideas flow and harmony prevail.
Hinduism looks upon all other religions as valid paths to God, who is the same, whether addressed as Father in Heaven, Jehovah, Allah, Siva, Krishna, or Brahman. The oldest scripture in the world, the Vedas, proclaimed, truth is one. The wise people call it by various names. So, harmony of religions is one of the basic ideas of the Hindus. I am involved with interfaith activities here in Sydney for about 20 years. Being a member of the WIN, the Women's Interfaith Network, and the Religion for Peace, I can definitely say that interfaith dialogues help us better understand the people of other faiths. We in Australia live in a multicultural, multi-faith society where everyone have the freedom to practice their faith. But unless we get some understanding of the various customs and practices of people of other faiths, we tend to regard them as strange, ridiculous, or meaningless. When we know the symbolism, we see the whole thing in a new light. This we get through interfaith dialogue, where each faith presents their view of some particular idea or practice. Thus, we see how important interfaith activities are in our society in Australia. Thank you.
Hello, my beautiful friends. My name is Harinda Kaur, and I'm the co-founder of Harman Foundation. I would like to share my views about interfaith. Interfaith refers to the positive and cooperative interaction between people of different religions, faith, and spiritual beliefs. It teaches us acceptance and tolerance. Now, I would like to share about my faith. I was born and brought up in a Sikh family. We are practicing Sikhism. The founder of Sikhism, Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, was born in 1469. The founder of Sikhism, Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, proclaimed the sharing of views and ideas should be a continuous process. So that is very much needed even now. Under the globalization, we are settled in Western countries. We are very scattered. And people around us from different religions, different community, they need to know what we are practicing, how we are practicing, what our beliefs are. So that opens up a chance of dialogue in interfaith. That is very much more needed, especially after 9/11. So let's embrace together and open dialogue into interfaith. Thank you.
We've been working together over the past 10 years because the events that followed the horror of 9/11 let us know how far we are from peaceful solutions to the world's problems. And it also let us know that religion itself is often part of the problem.
We wanted to find out why interfaith dialogue had not been able to help us get to a place of deeper understanding and even reconciliation.
It's really amazing that each of our traditions contains words of beauty and substance, and yet our world is filled with anger, pain, polarization.
And we've learned when speaking about spirituality that it's often important to begin with a moment of silence. We share many words, but the silence we share is one. The ancient psalmist said, "Be still, be quiet, and remember the deeper wisdom that arises from within you."
In the wilderness, Jesus experienced the same silence we meet now as he prepared himself for his ministry of teaching and healing.
The Quran invites us into the sacred womb of silence, where it is said, angels and the Spirit descend. So when we slow down a little, it becomes possible.
Rosie's life was destroyed by abuse. Neo's life.
When we
slow down
a little,
it is clear.
It is also possible to remember
the deep spiritual teachings
of our tradition.
Amen.
That's actually how we wrote our two books. I wrote every third word.
I wrote every first one.
I wrote every second one. Let's talk about something substantial, our core teachings.
It's important to remember our core teachings. The core teaching of Judaism is an evolving awakening to oneness, a oneness that demands ethical action in the world.
The core teaching of Christianity is unconditional love, loving without conditions.
And the core teaching in Islam is compassion. Compassion for self and compassion for others.
So how is it with our beautiful core teachings? We are in the shape we're in, and our world is in the shape it's in.
We're in the shape we're in, and the world is in the shape it is in, because we have gone astray from our core teachings of oneness, unconditional love, and compassion.
And that's always been the case.
As early as the 8th century BCE, it was the prophet Amos who called us back from the meaningless repetition of ritual to remind us that compassionate action is always a requirement of the spiritual path.
Jesus called us back. In fact, his words mirrored those of the prophet Amos as he sought to bring forward the Hebrew concept of chesed, loving kindness, steadfast love, unconditional love.
And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and peace on all the other prophets, he called us back from the worship of the ego, from the little self that idolizes wealth and power. So in the 7th century, he proclaimed, La ilaha illallah. There is no God but God.
But the paradigm has changed today. We're no longer waiting for someone out there to rise to call us back, because we understand that each and every one of us bears responsibility for the lives we live and for the world we share.
We believe that interfaith dialogue among those with faith and those without can help to create an inspiring foundation for the awakening that we need now. But we must learn to really communicate with each other.
You know, it's really critical that we get to know one another on a personal, human level. That's the best way to overcome this divide of different theologies and go beyond the need to position one religion against the other. Question is, how do we do that? We find that the 5 stages of interfaith dialogue are very helpful.
The first stage is reaching beyond distrust and suspicion and even fear by sharing our stories with each other. And the second stage is gaining an appreciative understanding of the core teachings of another's traditions.
And the third stage, in the context of those core teachings, is an invitation to each of us to understand how some of the verses and practices in our traditions are consistent with those core teachings, and how some other verses and practices are inconsistent with those core teachings.
And the fourth stage is the willingness to enter into more difficult conversations, like the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And the fifth stage is the willingness to really celebrate and actually experience spiritual practices from other traditions.
But here's the key: sharing the parts of our own traditions where we ourselves have gone astray from our core teachings.
And we found that we go astray in four ways. We found that our religious traditions promote exclusivity, promote violence, promote the inequality of men and women, and promote homophobia.
And that's how really relationships are healed. When we are willing to name the truth, willing to be vulnerable. And here's the problem we all share: exclusivity.
That's easy for you to say, Brother Jamal, but the fact is, the Bible says we Jews are the chosen people. From among all the peoples, we are God's choicest treasure, Deuteronomy 14:2.
Excuse me, Rabbi Ted, did you say Bible? Because in the Bible, Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 6, Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to God except by me."
Not my Bible.
Brothers, here is the real truth. The Quran says, whoever chooses religion other than Islam, it will not be accepted of him, and he will be one of the losers in the hereafter. Chapter 3, verse 85, take a note for your sake.
That's it. Unless there is purpose in our straying. Unless even the urge to exclusivity reminds us that we have strayed from the core teachings of our own traditions. Unless each of those strayings is symptomatic that we need to remember what we are here for.
What if those conflicts reveal the places within us where our hearts are closed and we need healing? So we can become more complete human beings. We can be of more authentic service to others.
Historically, each time humanity has been called back, it has been to a new place, a more expansive place, a more inclusive place.
So it's possible, understanding the evolution of oneness, to appreciate that we are all chosen. The Jews are chosen for the way called Torah, Christians for the way of Jesus, Muslims for the way of the Quran, and each and every other special and unique people called for their way. In fact, each and every one of us called to be the precious, authentic, special person that we are.
When Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life," I believe he was saying, "I am is the way, the truth, and the life." Remember, I am the name of God revealed to Moses. The to be verb in Hebrew and Aramaic is understood but often not written. So I think Jesus was saying God is the way, the truth, and the life. He was not speaking from that narrow place of ego. He was speaking from a wisdom from beyond ego.
The verse immediately preceding the one I quoted is probably one of the most inclusive verses in the Quran. It tells Muslims, you must honor and revere the teachings of all the prophets. The word Islam here is not referring to religion, but to the path of surrender, and points to the critical need for every human being in any religion to surrender attachment to the ego for a higher purpose.
It's important to remember that spirituality is always inclusive. Spirituality reminds us of the absolute interconnectedness of all beings.
And spirituality embraces the parts of us afraid to embrace.
The Quran says every soul where you turn is the face of Allah.
It's something to sing about. And the words the words may appear on the screen behind us. Our theme song contains Arabic, Hebrew, and English. The Arabic is
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, in the name of God, boundlessly compassionate, infinitely merciful. La ilaha illallah. There is no God but God. It's all one.
And the Hebrew, Adonai Hu Ha-Elohim Hu. The absolute transcendent one awakens within each one of us as our God. That is the one. And the English?
The English is, it's all one, and I am as I am, which means it's all one, and I am as I am.
And you're welcome to join us.
Please join.
Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Adonai Hu Ha-Elohim Hu. Adonai Hu Ha-Elohim Hu. It's all one and I am as I am. It's all one and I am as I am. Thank you. We share many words, but the silence we share is one.
Anyway, though, I've got some other resources if anyone wants me to put them into the chat. But anyway, there's a lot of resources to for Interfaith. But wasn't it those three men, the three amigos, came together after 9/11, and the three women come from Sydney. But anyway, so I hope I've given some food for discussion, and anyway, some resource. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. That was beautiful talk and presentation. I've seen the second video before, but every time you see it, you enjoy more because it shows the unity. It shows the point of unity that Interfaith wants to bring. Now, please, if you want to ask any questions from Tracy, raise your hand, electronic hand, or raise your hand so that I can see it. And then we go from there. I think Colin is first. He wants to ask a question.
Yeah, thank you, Tracy. I enjoyed that very much. My favorite topic, interfaith. And it's good to be reminded what it's all about, or actually to learn what it's all about. So definitely I was learning. One of those three female speakers, Pravrajika Gaya Triprani, was our speaker, number 41 on 30th of September 2021. I thought I recognized the name. And the three amigos, I like what they said, that words, there's so many words in the world, but silence is a space we can share. And that just reminded me of the indigenous concept of Tadiri, which is deep listening. And I know from a little bit of my experience, but more from my sister's experience, that you can be silent for half an hour and just comment on the mosquitoes, and then continue to be silent, and it builds very deep friendship. But I was particularly interested in the fact that the three amigos didn't shy away from having difficult conversations. They gave two examples. One was that they looked at the exclusivist texts, which too often religions will say, okay, well, we've got this text, therefore we don't have to investigate, we don't have to take seriously any other belief. So they gave some beautiful examples of how what appears to be exclusivist text need not be. It's just a choice that we choose to interpret them that way. And they also mentioned Israel and Gaza, which is a bit of a hot spot at the moment. And it's difficult to have conversations on difficult topics, which the best minds in the world haven't been able to solve for 100 years. And yet I just thought, how do we have those conversations without arguing? And the idea I have is that we can talk about these things at the level of principle. For example, both sides feeling insecure. Why are they insecure? What isn't the world community providing? That kind of thing, without blaming one side or the other. Those are just some of the thoughts I had, which I wouldn't have had unless you gave that presentation. So thank you, Tracy.
Well, that's good. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. But it's yeah, both feel insecure, and it's getting those politicians out of the road. Divide and conquer. You know, the average person wants to be a certain way, and then you've got the extremists.
Yeah.
You're next.
Thank you, Tracy. I won't take long. Your principle, you emphasize about peace and healing processes and practices and natural paths. We're talking, just give me an idea of natural path. Get me to link the idea of green energy and stem cell research project. All these advanced technology and technique now, especially for cancer patients, will be tried and tested mainly in Melbourne and Perth. So we pull the reality of life. At the same time, with many people follow interfaith. So many people follow religion, interfaith, everything. But in the area of science and medicine, things getting worse. It goes like, as we say, when people start to have treatment of any problem that they have in their body, don't know how, but people now, they die faster in a very short time, and sometimes they die a lot, like million people die. Just as example was already COVID is an evidence, but nowadays the cancer is still booming like flowers. So therefore, what I'm saying, the more people believe in God, the more interfaith we have, discussion and everything, the more $1 billion we put in, the everything, army, defense, medicine, everything, things are not improving because people die faster. They see God faster. So actually God has opened the way. Is that right? So I think talk about natural path is like a, you know, you can say it's like ideas of heaven, because it doesn't happen anymore. I mean, it's very remote because now talk about natural park, we talk about green energy. We want this energy from the green, from nature. And then we want stem cells, DNA and all that, just to help with cancer. But in real life, people die faster and 3 or 4 months, 6 months, they died of cancer. They don't have to wait like 5 years, 6 years. They don't have to try new medicine. So where is God want people to move forward? I mean, it's make me like, if you compare interfaith dialogue with the real life practice, the real life practice is so bad because a lot of cities now destroy and people die fast and in millions, in mass.
Well, I suppose I take the attitude, if we didn't have interfaith and we weren't doing certain things, we'd have even more troubles. And I mean, there's so much pollution, which is complicating, even the plastics toxicity, even in the umbilical cords of babies, they're catching so many toxins coming in. So it's sort of making it harder. In some ways, we're solving some of the hunger problems so that babies don't die, but then we've got all this pollution. So we've got all these sort of things going on at the same time. So I think that we have to double our efforts to find God's solutions, to make prevention better, to clean up the environment, the water, the air, the soil, and that will enable things to get better. But we can never give up. We must keep going in trying to serve, trying to find creative solutions to the problems that we're encountering. And as I said, God wants to help us to find those solutions, but we have to surrender. We have to surrender and take in what we need to do, and instead of indulging our greed, putting resources towards cleaning up the water, cleaning up the environment, and finding the ways to have compassion. Anyway, but we must never give up.
Okay, Shukule is next.
Thank you very much, Tracy. That was a beautiful presentation, very comprehensive and interesting. I learned a lot. And I was very interested in the article that you were reading. Some part of it was saying in so much detail how we should do the Interfaith with the active listening, with understanding, with acceptance. And the three guys at the end, he was saying that you get to know people in personal level. That's the only way to know other religions as well. When I was listening to you and all the beautiful things about interfaith dialogue, it came to my mind that I'm very interested that Baha'u'llah, the founder of Baha'i faith, in his holy book, he mentioned that build the houses of worship, that people from all religion, races, creed, to come together and get to know each other. Abdul Baha, his sons, he said that the purpose of places of worship and edifices for adoration is simply that of unity. Doesn't matter all the religion. In order that various nations, divergent races, varying soul may gather there, and among them amity, love, and accord may be realized. So this is all whenever you were talking about interfaith, I was thinking that about this and the original purpose of this. That is why Baha'u'llah has commanded in his holy book that a place be built for all religions of world, that all religions and races and sects may gather together, that the oneness of human world may be proclaimed, that all the human race is the servant of God, and that all are submerged in the ocean of God's mercy. So here we believe, and it was such a beautiful presentation that you mentioned, and very detailed how it can be done. That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. I actually put in the chat 2 links that will help you to explore more, because I think that this there's so much to learn, and people are writing about it, and I think the Baha'i faith puts a lot of its own resources into supporting interfaith work and the coming together, like even just to have the temples, and the fact that you read scriptures from other faiths on a regular basis makes you that you're comfortable with the scriptures of other faiths, whereas many other faiths, they just have their scriptures and they're focusing on how God is using them. But the fact that you have that familiarity with other faiths is a great benefit. But there are other groups that, like those 3 amigos,
Yes.
there are other
Yes.
people who are taking up the baton and see that is needed. The fact that we do need to find each other as brothers and sisters from the one God.
Yeah.
We need to see each other in that light and therefore come together.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, while the others are thinking about raising their hands, maybe I'll go forward and talk about these 2 topics, or 2 issues that I thought about when you presented those videos. One was that, Abdul Baha says that religion has got 2 aspects. One is spiritual principles and then social teachings. And it seems to me that the world today is lingering too much towards the social aspects of their religions, everybody, rather than the spiritual aspects, which is love your neighbor, be a fellow man, equality of men and women, and these sort of things. Now, I'm wondering whether, do you think that this is what's happening, that humanity is lingering to those social aspects of religion too much now, and we have to bring the world back into a more spiritual principles? This is one of my questions. The other one is that those 3 individuals raised it in their video, that the interpretation of the religious scripture can have odd meanings. And they explained it, for example, that Christ says, I am the way. And the clergyman eventually said that Christ means that the God's way is my way. Now, so I'm wondering whether our interpretation of the scriptures is lingering us towards too much social aspects of religion rather than the spiritual aspects of religion. So what do you think, Tracy, about these things?
I think we're all living in a time when materialism has taken over, and spirituality and the spending time in that silence, spending time in nature, even spending time to recognize what God is trying to do in our own life and in the world. We're not spending enough time on that. That's why I said a mature relationship, you happy to spend time with somebody. You just hang out together. We're not hanging out with God enough. We're emphasizing what we have to do and achieve, but actually to take the time to be and to sit and have God's presence. So we want God's gifts. We want God to do things for us, but to spend time just with God, just with that divine presence. And that's what our souls hunger for. And the solutions will come from there, what we need to do, and will actually be more effective. We will actually solve the social problems more effectively. And naturally, we will have respect for people, but we have to spend the time. I mean, in our past, all of our ancestors spent a lot of time just surviving. So they had to be doing. But actually we could spend more time in being, in just sitting with God and listening. What is God trying to say? And just sort of include God in our daily life. That's why I said the comings and the goings, the good, the bad, going to bed, waking up, that we don't wait to seek God going to the temple, but we are the temple of God. And honoring ourselves and each other from that perspective, and finding each other from the inside out, that we're on a spiritual journey. And as that first Buddhist lady said, there's suffering in every life. There's no one that's accepted, So can we, how do you deal with struggle, with suffering? How do you deal with when your children are a certain way? How do you cope? How do you balance between all your children's needs and your own need and work and teaching and all of those things we're dealing with? But we should try and deal with those things together with God and with each other from that sort of perspective. How does your faith help you to cope when things go wrong? And so we get away from the sort of materialism and action and what we have to do there. And if God is loving everybody, how do I sit with that each day and reflect on it before I go out shopping? Do I treat the person in the supermarket like that? So we bring our practice and the presence of God into our interactions. And I think, we need to less time on the phone and computers and TV and being entertained, and more time just sitting in God's presence. Anyway.
Thanks. Nice. Yeah. Okay, Vasanta, you're next.
Thank you, Tracy, for it's a very good presentation. Also, you have reminded us what we should be doing and what the interfaith is. Just we have learned a lot how we should be, and also the visiting the other religious places and meeting people from other religions. We learn a lot what is in common. So that the presentation you included what but we have to learn to listen from others and learn from them. That was very good. And also we have to remind ourselves how what we should be doing in these meetings rather than emphasizing our own thing, just to see what is common in religion and how we can be united. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to name other people that haven't spoken. Maybe they would come up and comment or ask questions. Pina, Margaret, Sarah, Jiva, please, if you have any, sorry, if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead. So before we close up.
Before others, Tracy, if you could share the link for those videos as well.
Yes, sure.
Yeah, please share those links in the WhatsApp forum. Pina, do you have anything to say? Margaret, Sarah, Jiva?
No, thank you. I'm listening.
So I'm wondering what we go from here. I mean, we see that those three people, those individuals, came up with recipe for unity, you know, looking at the scriptures in the right way, bringing proper concepts on it, looking at the spiritual aspects of religions, and sharing those with each other, knowing that all religions are the same. These are the points that brings unity among the interfaith people. Tracy, do you want to say more about these points? Because I think if we look at these points and try to grasp them better, perhaps our point of unity will flourish better because we've been going on for, I don't know, 3 years now, and we haven't come to a conclusion that what are those aspects of our religion that are common between each other, which I'm sure, in my view, is spiritual principles of our faiths. So I'm wondering how we can come to conclusion to what points of unity do we have that we could share among each other to bring us together rather than coming up with, you know, my religion says this, or your religion says that. What do you think?
Well, one of the things was that it's not just there's no conclusion really. There's the thing of by exchanging, it's like there's no conclusion, that an absolute formula. If you do this when you wake up in the morning, you do this, you think this, your day is going to play out exactly like this every day. There's nothing like that in any faith. So, you know, it's a matter of, you know, maybe we need to share testimonies between each other more of, you know, how do we apply our faith to life and meet each other there so that we make real relationships and friendships, you know, with each other. So it's not just sort of, I mean, I think one of the things that Siva was saying, you know, he wants people to come and talk about the thing that they're passionate about, because when someone is passionate about something, they reveal something about themselves. We have to be engaged and reveal what matters to us, you know, our inner, our struggles, our joys, our journey, and meet each other at a deeper point. So there's no, oh, you know, we've arrived. We're never going to arrive, but we have to sort of find the way that we're enjoying or learning from the different perspectives, and we're polishing each other up too. You know, refining each other. When we're like in pebbles in a river, tumbling
Yeah,
along.
I like that you're saying that polishing each other.
Yeah.
We're definitely gonna be doing this in here. We're polishing each other like the stones in the water. Yeah.
So that's a valuable thing in itself. And when you look at nature, you know, there's so much variety. There's so many things going on. I mean, we live right next to a river here now. And sometimes the dolphins come up, sometimes the turtles are out, but if you don't see it in the moment, you would never know it happened. There's no lingering trace there. But when you do catch it, have that moment, it's very exhilarating. But so, you know, when we enjoy watching the birds, so God likes to see us live our life. We like to look at nature. God likes to look at us. Do we sort of think of ourselves like that? That God is enjoying seeing how we deal with life. Because there's a lot of things we've got no choice about, isn't there? You know, so I think, you know, we're refining each other, and, you know, and different people bring in things from a completely different angle. And sometimes it's hard to catch it first, but then that's good for us to expand our ability to cope with different perspectives and different personalities.
Yeah, there's no conclusion. There's this stones being polished all the time. And we learn from each other. Okay, Yung, you have raised your hand again.
Thank you, Ahmad.
Yeah.
I think your question to Tracy can be explained in many different ways. It depends on where you live, which country and which regime that you belong to, like capitalist or socialist. The best place to hang around with God is will be, could be, can be, or are be, if you're in a free world. But if you're in a communist or socialist regime, and you want to take like 100 people to the park to hang around with God, to sit down and do meditation, then soon you will see the police around you. So it very much depends on where you live and what regime you follow, capitalist, socialist, communist, wherever, how many RB, how many convents, how many people join a convent so they don't have to throw stones at each other or polish each other. Because once they join a convent, there will be discipline there. So there are too many aspects there. So we have to have a broad view to understand many aspects of religions. And if we say conclusion like a plurality of belief, and religions provide principles for ethics and virtues and morals, you saw, etc., etc. It's too many clauses in there, and it depends on the countries you live in, the regime they ask you to follow, whether you belong to capitalist or you belong to the state-owned control mechanism. That's a different aspect also. Politics play a very important role in deciding religion, whether they do labor, they produce enough labors, or they just sit there, do meditation, and hang around with God. That is not a principle of productivity.
Well, I don't know whether that was a question or a statement. So I don't know whether Tracy wants to say anything. But okay, I think Colin has raised his hand as well. So maybe we go to Colin.
I just wanted to tell a nice story about two ways that I've learned about Sikhism. We had a speaker, and I was the MC in this forum, and I learned a little bit about the history and the teachings, and that was fine. But then a few years later, my daughter Gabby invited me to a Sikh, I think they call it a Gujarat, or a place where they have their temple, and they also provide meals for anyone who wants to come. And the way that Gabby, I think you've met Gabby in this group sometimes, Gabby got the invitation was that she was driving from Adelaide to Mount Barker, driving back from her work to where she lived in Mount Barker, which is outside of Adelaide, about 45 minutes drive. And it was an express bus. And so went right past the Sikh temple at the bottom of the hills on the edge of Adelaide. And a lady wanted to get off, but the bus driver wasn't going to stop because it was an express bus. So, and Gabby noticed this, and the poor lady was going to be dropped off when they got to Mount Barker, half an hour up the road at the top of the hill, and probably had to wait for another bus to come down. But Gabby just talked to her and made friends and said, when we get to the top, hop in my car. It's at the park and ride, and I'll take you down.
Mm.
And I think that's got something to do with interfaith dialogue. I know a lot more about the feeling of hospitality, and because they provide meals. So anyway, I think it's a better way to learn about religions, is just to get to know someone.
Mm. Yes, that's a good example. Practice. But it is, you know, when Christianity started, so many Christian martyrs. Even the Baha'is in Iran, so many martyrs. So the political situation makes it hard for people to practice their religion in a certain way. And in communist countries, in North Korea, you know, it's very difficult if you go against, but even in America at the moment, you know, there's sort of certain challenges if you got a different idea than the political powers. But we still can practice our religion. You don't have to be putting a flag up or go to the park to meditate. You can meditate, get up early and meditate. You can meditate while you're working. You can meditate and keep your faith alive in your heart to bring that out. And eventually these regimes will have to surrender to the kingdom of heaven on earth. We just don't know how long that's going to take. But in the meantime, practicing hospitality, practicing love, and doing our best where we are will make a big difference. But anyway.
Following what Tracy has said just now, it reminds me of that the hand metaphor that you raised and said the fingers are different, but working together they can manipulate things. And when Abdullah brings the human body as a metaphor for the human society, and saying that the hand, the leg, the arm, the ear, and the eyes, these work together for the human being to bring the human being to function. So human society is like that. Different parts, different societies in it are those legs and arms and ears and eyes of the human society. And if they don't function together properly, chaos will ensue. Now I guess maybe we are in that state where we have to try to bring these things together in a proper way. And as you say, we don't know when the heavens world would happen on earth. Our aim would be just try to work towards it.
Yeah, we're all just part of a bigger picture. There's a bigger story going on. when we don't know what that biggest plan is, the timing of it, but that's why if we follow our conscience and follow the highest ability that we can each day, we can at least be contributing our bit. We give and forget. Just do the best we can and know that there's a lot more that we wish could happen. We wish that we could have a magic wand and suddenly not have any suffering in the world, but that's
It's interesting what you're saying, because Baha'is believe also that there's a God's plan and there's man's plan. And the God's plan is in there, functioning. We might not realize it, but it's functioning and it's changing the world. It's so similar to what you just said.
And that the Islam idea of surrender, that it's a number of times I've said, I know that your ideas, your plan is better than mine, and I surrender. I quite often say that when I get to the end, my limitation. I say, okay, I give up, I surrender.
Can I please ask you a question, a quick one, please?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Talk about God's plan. When people pray, I mean, how many times they have to pray per day? Because talk about productivity, your boss watching people move around here and there, and in a working time, how many times they have to pray per day according to God's plan and human plan? How many times they have to pay to do their work, like a target every day is, if you do in billing, for example, you have to pay people a taxi invoice or whatsoever, but more than 100 bills per day, just say, for example. And then with the exceptional case like $1 million bill, do you have time to pray, and how many times you need to pray to get to heaven? And will God forgive you if you say, sorry, God, today I got 2 bills. Each one is on $1 million. I got to sell them. And so I can't do the, 7 prayer times during the day, according to God's plan. So what happened to that person, to the worker? Because if he doesn't get a target done, he's going to lose his job. Very simple.
Well, it's probably between God and that person. How can we know? We can't know. But we have to remember, God is the main quality of God is mercy. If we try our best, God is merciful and kind. He's not so legalistic. The law is there to help us to get a certain distance, but God is doing most of the work and effort in our life, even our breathing. How often do we consciously breathe? But we are breathed, aren't we? We are breathed. And sometimes we learn how to, we're more conscious. So, I think.
Yeah. Basanta, you've been very quiet. Do you want to ask any questions or comment?
I think I already said I really appreciate the presentation and learned a lot from Tracy, and she has spent so much time preparing the presentation and a lot of information. She has gone through so many resources. Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah, we're getting about.
And also she reminded us what. Sorry, Abu.
No, go ahead, or just one. I thought you stop. Go ahead.
No, also it's a reminder for all of us what we should be doing here in our interfaith meeting and how we can learn. And also I like the fact that we visit different houses of worship or different places, which we at the WIN group we do, and it is really good when we go to different places. We can learn a lot as well.
Yeah, I think people are not accepting the conclusion that, all different religions are there. We are like a village now, and we have to work together, respect each other. And a lot of people have, even, I've noticed that in other religions, apart from Baha'i faith, that they invite other people from other religions to come and do sermons in their meetings. So it's going that way, definitely. Now, if everybody is happy, it's 8:56, and probably we have to end up. And I thank Tracy for that beautiful talk. Hopefully we see more of that from her and others. If everybody is happy and there's no more comments to make, maybe we should end up the meeting.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Tracy. Thank you. You
Thank
be
you,
good.
Tracy.
Yeah,
You be
thank you.
excellent. You be excellent for public servants.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Tracy,
you.
and everyone
Thank you,
else.
Tracy.
Yes.
Thank you. Yo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And good night.
Thank you, Chukwuka.
Thank you.
Pina, you have been quiet for nowadays. You have to talk.
Yeah.
I've been listening. I've been really thinking so deeply. This is so beautiful that religion is true action, and prayer is also true actions. It's not necessarily that you are talking to God. It is also in action that is part of prayers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.